Hey there folks, it's Soul with continuing coverage of the Dragonflight Alpha. This week the Jewelcrafting and Leatherworking professions make their debut, and we're going to dive right in. So if you don't mind, like the video and subscribe to the channel so I can continue making these previews for you. If you've been watching my previous profession previews, you'll have a good handle of the basics, from how specializations work to epic crafting to the reagents needed. So going forward, these previews are going to require that basic knowledge. And so if you're new, you'll want to check out my coverage of blacksmithing and alchemy to understand those fundamentals. As usual, this is an early look. Everything's up for changing. The material requirements and values are most likely not final. So let's start with jewel crafting. Most of you JCs know the drill. You prospect ore for materials, you make components, you cut gems, and craft necklaces and rings. Prospecting is going through a bit of a revamp though. It works sort of like mass prospecting, but instead, there's a pull down for you to select the kind of ore to process. It also only processes in stacks of 5 instead of 20. And the casts are, they're kind of broken anyway. The loot window opens up and it interrupts the queue, so I can't even get past 1. My hope is that we'll be able to change the value here to whatever we want. So for example, if we want to prospect like 100 ore at once, we can queue up to 20 casts of prospecting, and it's going to prospect 20 times in a single cast. For now though, we're just going to have to wait and see what happens. New to jewel crafting and Dragonflight are finishing reagents and the profession equipment used to help crafters like yourself craft better. They can add sockets to what seems like any endgame necklace, crafted or not. This tiered medallion setting can be used to add a total of 3 sockets to a neck, which I think elevates the neck to be one of the more popular slots that players are going to reserve for crafted gear. Jewel crafters can also make trinkets. There are 4 in all. They do all the same thing based on the secondary stat you want to focus on. So, for example, this Idol of the Earth Warder is based on mastery. Depending on how many mastery gems you have equipped, you get a stacking bonus. I should point out that we currently don't know how many total gem slots we can possibly have on our characters. At best, we know there can be up to 3 on the neck and at least 1 on each ring. And there's some fun stuff too. There's statues that jewel crafters can drop in the outdoor world, there's a rainbow of whelpling pets, there's toys, and some fancy glasses. Gem cuts are going to diversify a little bit, providing a mixed bag of stat combinations instead of just the single stat, but there's also a primalist gem that is unique equipped and provides both primary and secondary stats. Your first impression on gem cuts might be like, okay, so what? We're just going to cut more gems as usual, whoop-de-doo, but now we should move on to specializations. At skill level 25, you open up the specialization menu, and you learn Jeweler's Kit Mastery as a free spec, but you can also choose one of the other trees to spec into. There's faceting, as in cutting gems, settings, which is to make gear, and enterprising, to improve your overall skill, just like Jeweler's Kit Mastery. Once you learn one of those 3 specializations, you're unable to branch off to another one until your skill level reaches 50, and then one more time at 100. Like all the profession specializations in Dragonflight, you're going to want to decide on what you want to focus on first. Let's say you want to cut the best gems, so you pick up faceting. You're also going to want to choose if you want to focus on a particular cut or a stat and go deeper into that part of the tree, or if you want to start off as like an all-rounder. If you're not sure which gem is going to be the best for you or the most profitable, you can hold on to your spec point or put it into the base trait to improve your chances at higher level cuts. And once you do decide on a specific gem cuts like Earth for example, you can spec deeper into the Earth cuts to learn new recipes and to make these Earth cuts at a higher quality for cheaper. Over in the settings tree, you can choose between crafting necks and rings on one side and trinkets and statues on the other side. Okay, it's more like trinkets because at least so far, statues that only work in the outdoor world aren't all that impressive. Whatever the case though, if you want to craft the epic gear, here is where you're going to go. And enterprising lets you prospect more efficiently. Create the finishing reagents, the fun stuff like the glasses or gem hoards, which take your excess resources to spit out more gems. So it'll be interesting to see crafters tear themselves apart trying to choose what specialization to have first. And now let's move on to leatherworking. One of the first things you'll notice is that there are no heavy leathers to process. I guess it's because it's already enough that we're going to deal with different qualities of many types of items. Skinning, while not officially testable, is going to let you process 5 lower quality leather into 1 higher quality leather, which kind of suggests a linear value, but don't be fooled. Once gathering professions are officially testable, I'll speak more on that. Like blacksmithing, leatherworking makes some familiar items as in armor pieces, profession equipment, optional reagents, and finishing reagents to make crafts better, along with drums and weapons. Let's highlight some of the cool stuff though. Leg armor kits are going to make a return, adding main stats along with stamina or armor. So there's no more reapplying armor kits every 2 hours, even though personally I kind of enjoyed the roleplay of it. Whatever the case, you can count on these to be ever-present hot commodities. The riding crop makes its return, which is, kind of cute. It takes up a trinket slot as opposed to a more useful slot like, mount equipment, for those who remember that. There are a few fun items too. There's a sign, there's a tent, and there's a beanbag. Circling back to gear, just like blacksmithing, there's craftable epic gear all the way up to mythic quality, but also its own round of special gear that is a little bit less customizable, but it comes with special attributes, and they're actually a little bit easier to craft at the highest quality. I'll get into how that works in a little bit, but let's take a glance at some of these items. This flaring cowl deals constant ticking damage to surrounding enemies, and these acidic hailstone treads deal a frost damage proc. However, as a trade-off, you lose a little bit of run speed. Both of these effects are strengthened if you wear other items that share this toxic attribute, which I'll do my best to explain in just a bit. When it comes to specializing, there are 4 main specs here. You'll be choosing between leather and mail crafting, which is pretty straightforward. Inside each of these trees, you'll be strengthening your overall crafting skills with leather or mail pieces, and then focusing on the slot or slots of choice, eventually unlocking a few epic recipes. And then there's this primordial leatherworking spec, which brings back those old days of leatherworking specs like tribal, elemental, and I think dragon scale leatherworking. In this case, the specs are elemental, bestial, and decay. By specializing in primordial leatherworking, if you were to dedicate yourself fully towards, say, making the best flaring cowl, you can specialize in that item specifically, but also double dip into your proficiency by specializing into crafting better leather helmets on this side, which gives an overall crafting bonus. This can let you make this mythic helmet faster than others who did not specialize in the regular leatherworking. On the other hand, you can specialize in toxic leatherworking and create these reagents that apply the toxic attribute to any of your crafted gear, and that'll strengthen procs that come from gear like the hailstone treads. So this thing can get pretty deep. Part of the game is specializing for what you want, but also specializing for what you think clients out there would want that your skills can uniquely provide. And let's not forget about the final specialization, leatherworking discipline. This is where you can craft the small number of weapons available and armor kits, and also strengthen your overall crafting skill across the board. From the looks of it, there are more items coming for professions, especially with leatherworking. There's craftable PvP gear in the works, and primordial leatherworking still looks like there's room for more items to be made. Otherwise, I would hate for an entire specialization to be focused on just like 3 or 4 pieces of gear. Like the other professions, I can see a lot of potential for fun, and I'm looking forward to seeing more soon, especially with gathering and enchanting. For now though, that's it. Feel free to ask questions down in the comments and let me know what you think. Check back for more coverage, so like the video and subscribe to the channel so you know when new videos come out. Thanks for coming, and until next time, stay safe, stay healthy, and stay breezy.